Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The recent meta updates here in Warzone have definitely changed things around in the long range meta, and we've already broken down a handful of top tier options for long range in specific, but one weapon category here in season 5, to me at least, is really standing out, and that is the LMGs. These have been towards the top of the meta for some time now, and even more so in this current meta with season 5, I feel like they are some of the most dominant and well-rounded weapons in the game. And today I wanted to break down the more standout options here, because actually on true game data, thanks to some recent site updates, we can look at every single option in the LMG category and compare them and see which ones really are going to thrive the most. And there's some interesting, standouts here for sure. So if we scroll down and we change to first off all weapons here, so we can see the TTK of every single gun, and of course we want to be looking at combination shots for the most accurate TTK results possible, we get a very interesting graph. Now keep in mind, this is off the general basis that true game data or Tony sets for where you're going to hit shots. So he's got his percentage denominations down there: 15 to the head, 20 to the stomach, 5 to the neck, 27 to the chest. This is not going to happen exactly like that in every single fight, so things will sway here up and down. If you hit 2 headshots in one fight but only 1 headshot in the next, the TTK is going to be drastically different depending on the gun. But a few things to point out here initially: the RAL has been a powerhouse for some time, but because of how certain things have been adjusted in recent meta updates, currently over long range, when you factor in accuracy and whatnot, its TTK is going to be a little slower now compared to some other options, which are definitely lower recoil, which almost brings the RAL a step back. Now it's still a good long range weapon, and even though it's technically the slowest TTK on this graph right now, if you compare this to the majority of the assault rifles, other battle rifles, other marksmans, even other just general long range options, these are all still going to be faster than those. Like, that's just how dominant the LMG category is. But you can see there's a couple of options here that clearly, to me at least, say, hey, I'm what you should be using. For instance, the wrap, I mean, this one speaks for itself. Our green line here, and if you guys have been active viewers here on the channel for a bit, I've been on the wrap for a couple of seasons now as one of the best options in the game, and it's currently easily the best LMG. Now it is a slower reloading, higher fire rate option, so you have to reload frequently, and it's got a little bit of recoil, but nothing that's not manageable at 60, 70, 80 meters, right? But if you land your shots with this thing, it's clearly got the fastest TTK in this category by far. Close range, mid range, long range, it's winning. An option that really surprises me here is the Sakin, because this is a super low recoil weapon, one of the lowest recoil guns in the entire game, if we're being honest. And as you guys can see up close through the first 40 meters, it's nothing that crazy. It's got the slowest TTK up close, and then in the mid range it's just mediocre. But beyond 40 meters, boy, it starts to take over. In the mid-range there, 40 to 50 or so, 40 to 55 to be exact, it is the second fastest TTK with much easier recoil than the wrap. And then over long range, it's not really being beat out by much outside of the RAL before its damage drop off, and then the wrap as mentioned, and the Icarus, which we'll touch on here in just a moment. So the Sakin having the third fastest TTK over range while also being arguably the easiest to control here, surprising for sure. One that you definitely should be paying attention to right now. Then, just as mentioned, the Icarus. Up close, it's actually pretty good as well. It's first damage drop off there. It's the second fastest. Mid range is nothing all that fancy, but then again, you get to that 55 meter range and it suddenly has the second fastest TTK of all the LMGs, just behind the wrap, just faster than the Sakin. Again, this is a relatively low recoil option. It's a little bit slower reload again, basically just a heavier M4 for a lot of situations, but it works. And on paper, I mean, clearly the stats don't lie here. These do actually trend over to realistic gameplay. When you factor in accuracy, you're gonna get similar results here, because really all these LMGs are not that difficult to use, the RAL being the most difficult, still very much so rewarding in the early mid-range, some early long range as well. I mean, it works. All of these work, but to me, the wrap, the Sakin, and the Icarus really standing out right now. So as we get into the actual loadouts for those weapons, real quick, if you guys are new to the channel, you want to guarantee you are always up to date with the latest meta breakdowns, news, patch notes, everything going on in COD. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you guys enjoy this video, if you find the information helpful at all, let me know by dropping a like on it. It really does help the channel grow. But first up here, the wrap. This is a setup that you guys have heard me talk about quite a few times here recently, since season 5 dropped, and even before that. Like I said, I've been on this gun for a couple of seasons when I first started looking into the stats of it, because I'm sitting here saying this is going to be a meta option for many seasons to come. People sleep on this because yes, it's heavy, it's slow, the reload sucks, but you just simply have to land your shots, and then you can start reloading after you've wiped a squad, right? Because it will do that easy. So the setup here largely going to be focused on optimizing that mid to long range. Optic is always personal preference. If you want to use this, if you want to use a recharge, a holotherm, whatever the case may be, go for the optic that you're the most comfortable with. Tune for that furthest eye position and faster ADS. I go for the TCG-10 rear grip straight up for better recoil control. However, you'll notice I'm not using high velocity. If that's something you just value super heavily on a long range weapon, you could probably drop the rear grip here and throw that on. You're just going to have a little bit more recoil, but it's not unmanageable by any means. Now, as mentioned, with that super slow reload, I go for the 100 round mag just to make it so that I reload a little bit less frequently, right? This really does allow you to potentially wipe a full squad without reloading if you're super accurate. So definitely something worth running in my opinion. Ripper underbarrel for that better stabilization and stability. Over range, it's just going to make the weapon even easier to use and predict. Then I go for the Talon suppressor. This is a heavier option, so that means it's going to give you velocity, range, and a little bit of added recoil control as well. Once more, just optimizing that mid to long range efficiency there. Basically, super fun gun, and as we saw in the graph, the fastest killing LMG in the game right now. Now for the Icarus, this is a super slept on gun. Quite frankly, it is really just a heavier M4. It behaves very similarly. It's not the slowest LMG by any means, but it does still feel like an LMG in a lot of ways. Its movement's not going to be anything crazy. You still got to spend some time reloading, but it works. Now, the fire rate here is not as crazy as on the wrap, so I go for the standard magazine, which is just 75 rounds, and that works totally fine. It allows me to, optimize this more again for long range. So ammo V4 for me yet again. Feel free to change that if you want. High velocity in this case, and of course with ammo, you always tune for range and you always tune for velocity. Ripper underbarrel yet again. I actually go for a lighter suppressor here in Echoless 80 because I find this pretty easy to use. So this one's just going to give you that added velocity and added range. Then the Cold Forge barrel is going to give you even better range and even better velocity. So this in the mid to long range, when you're fighting 50, 60, 70, 80 plus meters, it's going to feel really consistent, really straightforward, really easy to use. It's a weapon that, like I said, is super slept on, but it gets the job done when you land your shots, which it doesn't take much to do. You're going to be frying. And then the Sakin, like I said, this is arguably the easiest LMG to use, up there with like the HCR as well. So in broad gameplay, you're going to be able to pick this thing up and just shoot straight with it right away. It takes little to no effort to actually master this. Very low risk, and as we saw in the graph, very high reward. You might even be landing more shots with this versus an Icarus or versus a Wrap, which could flip those TTKs in favor of the Sakin. So again, AMOD V4. I do go for Stip 40 here just because I'm all in on control. This thing is going to shoot as straight as it can with little to no recoil control really needed here. That said, again, though, if you really value high velocity, you could drop Stip 40 and throw that on there. I go for the Edge 47 underbarrel. You could upgrade to, Ripper if you wanted to, but it's so simple, so straightforward. I don't feel like you need the heavier underbarrel on there. You can get away with having a slightly faster ADS with just not as much stabilization, and it'll still feel really consistent. Polar Fire suppressor, again, a lighter option, so just range, just velocity being added there. And then the Silver Series barrel, better control, better velocity, better range, better pizza, Papa John's. This thing's gonna, help out everywhere, basically. Gives you even more control to stack on top of Edge there. It's just going to be feeling so simple, so straightforward, and in turn, it's going to net you really easy kills, and it's still going to work quickly, which is not always the case. Usually it's low recoil, low damage, lower TTK, or a slower TTK rather. This is low recoil, decent damage, really fast TTK, and that's like the perfect storm. And that being said, those are the best LMGs to be running right now in terms of TTK and this newly sort of updated long-range meta that really favors this style of weapon. If you enjoyed the video, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out to always guarantee you're up to date with all things going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.